Good morning to AAA Wargaming. I'm James, and I'll be taking you through the second battle report. Again, it's a friendly, and again, it's Tommy Tucker, but this time it was an away game. So I went down to his house. He very kindly got us pizza, and we played there in the country. We decided, as it was friendly, we wanted to do a bit more of a fun side of the map pack, so we took the B side, and this is map B4 that we rolled off. For deployment, it shows Dawn Assault, so that's the one where you have to choose a corner and you have an 18 inches on your flank that's open space, and you can choose to ambush up to 2 units that come in from your side. So the side without the 18-inch gap on. The second objective is capture the flags, which, as Tommy was taking the same list for Saurian Ancients, I think favoured myself because my scoring units are tougher, and also because of the slight changes to my list. So you notice at the top there's no big dragon and Treefather Ancient. I've switched them around to take an avatar and a druid dragon, but with shamanism and binding scroll. This seems pretty perfect for this list because I've got swarm of insects and totemic summon. That means I can just sit off and bombard his scoring units wherever they are, especially as they're skinks. One of my issues was I never really concentrated swarm of insects on them. Probably my mistake, and this could have done more damage, but that's a slight spoiler. The other big difference is I've I've changed Pathfinders to Sylvan Sentinels. I want to have a look at them. This is not specifically because the Saurians have 3 Stegodons amongst them, but also I think they'll be more useful going forward. Monsters are a big thing now, and my list already has a lot of AP. When you think about the Avatar, the Wild Huntsman, and the Blade Dancers, I don't need any more of it. What I do need is a bit more punch into the monsters territory. And then also I increased the number of Wild Huntsmen, just taking shamanism. They need a bit more resilience in that sense. So the Saurian Ancients were exactly the same. I'm quite happy with this. I think the definite advantage to me, he's got more scoring units and that's definitely weaker, so I'm going to be going off those schemes quite heavily with magic. He's also got to protect quite centrally around his Quattle, therefore Chilling Howl, I'm going to take that as it's with his 12-inch bubble. I'm going to have great effect. It means great bows and unlikely with my monsters unless on 6s. And his really reduces his ability with pyromancy. Again, though, the warlords are still a problem. I'm just going to have to get a bit lucky, I think. But overall, my plan was to try and push him back into a corner again, whilst using Saurian shamanism to just take off some of his scoring units and try and make him come out so that I can charge him rather than have to move into his charge arcs and receive those impact hits. In terms of magic, the Master chose Swarm of Insects and Chilling Howl, Break Spirit, and Totemic Summon, as explained. Break the Spirit, that was because of the map. There's so much terrain I've put on his side. If he wants to come forward, he's going to take lots of DTs, and I can take some more wounds off that way. And then the Briar Maidens chose a Master of Earth to have some sort of healing capability, and Forest Embrace, because as I move up the map, I'm going to need a Forest for my Blade Dancers. Tom took exactly the same spells. I think they're a good option. I explained the last one, but Spark of Creation, because that's the only one that can get strength 6 apart from the attribute. Fireball, Cascading Fire, and Pyroclastic Flow. Cascading Fire means you can hit into combat. I'm going to try and be quite pushy. Fireball is in that range, and Pyroclastic Flow is just, as proven last game, it's just very deadly, especially for my Blade Dancers. I mean, it wiped them out with, and then a Fireball took off the BSB, so I'm not going to be making that mistake again. So this was deployment. As you can see, I rolled off and I chose bottom left. My theory here was that I've got 2 bits of impassable terrain, so if he defends more centrally, I can hide behind a lot of stuff, especially for that first turn. But equally, I've got it just pushes him back into that corner with the ruins there. He's got an impassable terrain, so Master of Earth is more useful. And also, he's got a wood right in the centre, and this proved quite critical because he's obviously going to be getting DT1s, and it means when I push into him, it's something for my Blade Dancers to aim for. So Tommy decided to drop 4 first, and initially he thought about, he was deploying up around this area, which I thought was quite clever because it means he can push out into this way and it just keeps me back into this corner. And I have, yes, I can surround to a certain extent, but not that easily, not without going down the center of his firepower. And it just means that he's got good counter charges. But in the end, he decided to go into this corner. And it just, yeah, as per the plan, it allowed me to, even if he got first turn, I can put as many of my units back. So what you've got is, at the back, you've got his Skinks, his Pterodons, Skinks, and Saurians, and this is protected through scoring units. And then he's just created this wall of death, monsters, fire, angry, small, slightly angrier, smaller lizards. Of his Taurosaur, his Warlord with 4 hit points and 5+ Aegis. Another Taurosaur, his Quattle in the Saurian block, another Taurosaur, and his Warlord with 4+ Fortitude, and then more Pterodons. You can see here he's protected his Pterodons to a greater ability here and not going to let me shoot them off like last turn. So my theory was here, one, I think this was sort of like the range where his Quattle could move forward and actually pirate me. So the only things I really wanted in there were the Dryads and the Treefather Ancient. Everything else I wanted out in case he got lucky great base shots. So what I've got here is Wild Huntsman. This is to stop him coming too far down the flanks so that I can just bomb burst in, because if he does that, then I'm into his scoring units very quickly. It's a big unit. I've got the Dryads and the Treefather in front just so that they can zoom up and, if necessary, use this building here. And I can either go left into his soft underbelly, or if he moves there, I can go right towards his scoring. Then got the Blade Dancers to support using the trees in the middle. And then I've got Sylvan Sentinels and Briarmaidens behind just to support either units. I've got 2 Dryad units, and the reason I put them here was just in case he started moving his Pterodons up, I could actually use them to take them on. But equally, if he didn't and kept them back more, which I thought he might do, I can just run them into this corner here and hide them. And then these Heath Hunters can get up to here. And then what I wanted to do is zoom up here and start taking off the Pterodons here, and that was my overall plan. The Dragon's out of range, but equally it can get in range very quickly and start bombarding his line with Chilling Hounds and having someone swarm at this stage. So I was pretty confident at this stage, and I think I was in the better position. So Saurian Ancient turn 1. So this is where Tommy came up. He hasn't really moved that far, but he's just guarding down the flank and he's just wanting me to come forward. So exactly as I expected. And I think it puts me in a good spot. He has put his Warlords out early because I can't touch them. Res 5, like 1 up, 5 up and 4 up. Swarm is not going to be great against them, I don't think. And none of my shooting is now, so the only thing really threatening them is the Treefather Ancient and the Wild Huntsman in a full unit. What he does do cleverly is he moves this left-hand. What he does do is he moves this left-hand Taurosaur out there, and we'll see in a later picture, but he actually has a flank shot onto my Wild Huntsman. Yes, he needs a 6, but that was poor play for myself. And then otherwise you can just see his Pterodons moving out and just making sure I can't see them at all, even if I move my Briarmaidens around and use Master of Earth. In Magic, what I really wanted to stop here was just protect my Wild Huntsman. I haven't got as much healing spells. And that was it. I wasn't bothered about anyone else. I stopped most of it. He only got Cascading Fire off onto the Dryads, killing 2 of them. But as you look on the right, that 6-shot with the Taurosaur over there, straight down the flank, killed off killed off 4. So that's them gone. So yeah, that was 4 straight away. Now I'm down to 5. Not a good start for me. I could have angled that easily the other way to stop that, and it's something I've got to remember for the future. But otherwise, no real problem. So in my turn, what he had left was me a charge into his Saurian Warlord at this. It was a 9, and I decided to take it. 1, I tie him up, and I still tie him up on that flank, on that side. I don't think he'll be able to charge around. And either I'm going to stick with him and just and be able to grind him out, or hold him in position to charge through with the Wild Huntsman and push the Avatar around. So I was pretty happy with that. Unfortunately, it didn't come off, so they stumbled forward a short bit. And this is how the rest of my army moved. As you can see, my Dryads have sort of backed up a bit. My Heath Hunters have come forward to get into range of the Pterodons on the left. I am trying to bait this Warlord here, because if he comes forward, double flee. I've made sure behind something I'm starting to learn, that even if they don't flee, they're not going to run off the board or cause panic with the dragon, because the dragon isn't fearless. It's one of the few units in my army that isn't. And therefore there'll be a flank charge from the Blade Dancers. I've moved the Sentinels up so that they are in range and can start plinking off Runes on the Taurosaurs, and the Avatar Nature in here. And this is so that I can either go right or left, and you can see he's angled. And this is just if this Lord comes into the Dryads here, which wouldn't have been a bad move necessarily, but because the Avatar of Nature is angled, if that thing charges him in the flank, he's going to be quite painful. Off to the right here, I've got the Wild Huntsman and the Briar Minions, and that's just to offer a flank and just keep this zoned back and just tie them up so they can't actually move back to the center. So in Magic, my priority was to get off to go after a scoring unit at the back, that skink unit, because it was out of leadership and general's bubble. So it was, yes, cold-blooded, but only on its own leadership. So what I did was cast Totemic Summon, and Tommy let that one through. It was a high casting roll, so I was pretty happy with that. He then got a little unlucky because I cast not well Chilling Howl on the centre on his Quattle's unit, but he rolled really poorly with all his dice, and I got that off as well. So his entire shooting and magic elements were at -1 to hit. -1 to wound as well. Then in shooting, so very good magic phase, and I was feeling pretty strong at this point. In the shooting, I managed to get off the wound off on the Pterodon, so not great, but long range, and I've still got 5 more turns to do anything. The Totemic Summon itself, those 2 ones are what he rolled for the 2d6 for his breath attack. Now, it probably teaches me to have to borrow a model as a Minotaur and not my army, but this is a pretty big thing. So I think he killed 1 this turn, and obviously that didn't cause a panic check. This will be a theme of the game. So Saurian Ancients turn 2. The critical bit here is what you can see is this Saurian Warlord come out to threaten the Wild Huntsman, possibly try and get a frenzy charge, which can be countercharged with the Taurosaur. Critically, he's in the front of both. You can just see the Briar Maidens here and the Wild Huntsman, so there's no flank charges at this point, and he's out of arc of the Dryads, so quite a safe move. Otherwise, fairly little movement. He hasn't taken the bait on the left with his Warlord, so I think he's just trying to hold me back. What he did do in the movement, because you can't see any more Totemic Summon, is he dropped rocks. So on the plus side, I have got the Pterodon's rocks out of the way. They're quite a big threat, especially to my units with lots of hard target, because they just smack you to death. So at least I got that, but those have come up. Don't even need the poison shooting from the skinks. So yeah, that's the Totemic Summon back in the prison again, back in the bin. He'll get subbed back on many times, still does nothing. Here in Magic, I managed to stop most of it on the Blade Dancers. They were my priority, but it does mean I have to accept. I think it was a Pyro and a Spark, a cancel. It was a Cascade and a Pyro. So I have to accept them coming out and just smacking the Sylvan Sentinels. It's partly to get into range, I've got to risk them, and that was one of the things. But they do pass their panic checks. The advantage of having them sat behind the BSB there is they're not going to run away. And with the Avatar's leadership 18-inch bubble, I'm pretty happy with it. But on this side, what I've tried to do is I've switched the Briar Maidens and the Wild Huntsman around. The advantage of both being light troops is I can threaten his Taurosaur without actually having to be in arc with the Warlord. Again, though, I forgot with my Dryads to put them in a good formation, so I've reformed them this turn just so that and they still have the option of going right if his Taurosaur wants to come out, because what I really wanted him to do is actually charge, and I'd have happily taken the charge there for me to punch through with these and get into his soft underbelly. I've also moved the Avatar of Nature up. He is in range of this Taurosaur, but really out of range of everything else, or out of arc. Move the Dragon up so I can start casting some low-grade Break the Spirits if I want. So if I get lucky, because it's only being cast on 9, the low-grade version on 18. And then other than that, and the Dryads just staying out of the way. What I didn't want to do is I don't want to sacrifice these too early, because what I'm thinking at this moment is if his warlord is not going to come forward until maybe turn 3 or 4, because that's the time to really needs to push. These 3 are just going to chaff him and stop him getting through to my dryads and allow the rest of my army to. So they're really here to stop this guy getting to these 2, because I'm pretty certain I can protect this unit on this flank. In Magic, I get Totemic Summon again, and he sensibly stops Chilling Howl, because that was his big threat, and it kind of stops all of his stuff going through. But yet again, if you look between the 2 pictures, between Magic and Shooting, there are 2 more skinks on the left-hand picture and 2 less on the right. So yet again, not a very good breath attack. I'd like to point out, Totemic Summon is wounding on 2s, and they've got like a 5-up save. It really was quite impressive. So at the moment, the grand tally is 3. So 3 skinks over 4d6 worth of breath attacks. And then in Shooting, this is quite good. So if you look on the left-hand photo, this is the Pterodon that's left. So there was 1 wound already, and it caused a further 3 wounds. So that was pretty good shooting at long range and hard target. So Heath Hunters, tick VG. And then the Sentinels, you can see a wound on this Torso here, managed to plink a wound off. So that was good as well. Otherwise, so again, a successful, still sticking to the plan and still forcing him back. So I'm quite happy with that. Saurian Ancients turn 3. This is quite a big one, so he's quite worried about my Avatar of Nature. He doesn't understand that this building is quite critical about where I'm going to go. So what he's done is he's sort of given me no real arcs to come around this side unless I want to risk it, or this side, while still having 2 scoring. He's brought the Pterodon unit back into this area here. And that's just so he can still use it and protect it from my Heath Hunters as much as possible. He's reorientated his skinks. He's got no other options of dropping rocks anymore, so he's going to have to poison this person off. But he's got what? 11 left in, no, 12 left in one and 15 left in the other. So 27 poisoned. I think it's going to work. The only other critical thing is he's moved this warlord down to here, and he's not charged, he's just blocking my wild huntsman, so to draw them in, just to give, so he thinks these wild huntsmen going in, and he's right, 5 wild huntsmen are in, they're probably going to have to stick against that, and then he's got options to bring his torso in, or the lord runs him out. We don't see is on the left here, his lord has moved up to here, so this is what I was fearing. I thought, right, here he goes, he's going after my small dryads. This is the time he needs to do it to get across the board and go through all my chaff. So I'm glad I've kept my Heath Hunters back. And this is a better picture of the warlord in front. And that. So in Magic, he manages to plink off another Sylvan Sentinel, but the picture on the left is my saves for my Avatar. He cast Spark of Creation, and for some odd reason, I thought the powerful version was only Strength 5 AP3. God knows why. Tommy's told me all the time. I've played an entire game against this, but this is my thoughts. I don't think I'd have stopped it anyway on the Avatar, but these were his saves. So he got 3 wounds through, so I was like, okay, he's probably going to get a couple of wounds through. These are quite close now, so they're hitting on 4s, great guys. This could be bad. I rolled a 6, so that top left dice is the first save on a 6, and the bottom 2 were the 2 on Aegis save, so no wounds on the Avatar. So he survived. Shows how tough the character is. He really is a terrifying prospect. But yeah. Better in shooting. So firstly, his torso has managed to put a wound. They're unlucky only to do 1 on the Avatar, but I'm relatively happy with that. I mean, I've still got the Brahmin, so I can just get it back, but it is not going to be as easy as when I've got a Druid Master. So that's probably what this list needs. And then, yeah, the totem, he didn't even need the unit of 15. The skink unit of 12 who'd been breath attacked were like, well, screw you, man, and took off the Totemic Summon on their own. So that was back in the prison box. Now this is my turn. Tommy had seen this and gone, yeah, he's not going to charge my Wild Huntsman, he thought. But I did the sums. I charge him in the front, so charge with a banner. So that's 2. I then charge him with the rear, so that's another 2. So I'm up 4 already. And so I'm up 4. It's likely that I could get a couple of wounds through. There's a lot of attacks going his way between the Wild Huntsman and the Brimaids, and the Briars have poison. And it only takes a couple and him to fluff a bit, and suddenly I'm in business, and this is one of the big threats. And suddenly the right flank is a bit more of mine. So I absolutely thought I had this. So then I moved the Druid Father Ancient on this side. I couldn't move into the centre here. He's tough, but charging from 2 Taurosaurs into here is just not a good place to be. And this side, even with 1, I think with a good amount of saves, I can absolutely fluff that one. I also moved the Dragon over to here. I wanted to influence this combat. I had 2 spells between the Briar Maidens, so either I wanted Forest and Brace Off or Break the Spirit. If I had a choice, I wanted Break the Spirit because I thought with him fluffing attacks and missing and hitting on 4s rather than 3s would be far better for me. Otherwise, the Dryads moved up slightly with the Blade Dancers and the Heath Hunters here. You can see the Scouts have moved back, and that's to provide a bit of protection. And the Heath Hunters are slipped round, and that's just so they can get in range of this Pterodon here to see if I can plink it away between the 2 of them. But otherwise, very much capable of running back to block this guy. So, in Magic, I don't manage to get off Break the Spirit. That was the one he stopped, but I did get Forest and Brace Off and Totemic Summon. So Forest and Brace Off on the Wild Huntsman. Still pretty happy with this. So they're going to reroll 1s in combat, and any 6s he has to hit me are going to have to be rerolled. So there is some benefit there, and got the Totemic Summon off this time. So I thought, yeah, come on, this is good. But as you can see, there are only 2 more Skinks gone. So with another breath attack, he's only killed 2, so he's probably going to get chopped next go. But the Sentinels did put a wound on the left-hand Taurosaur, as you can see here. So still very positive shooting phase, and Magic is interesting. Now combat, the big one. Also the Avatar of Nature has shot off a couple of wounds off his Pterodons, which is good actually. So he rolled quite well for this. I think he rolled a 6 for the number of hits. So he's 6 + 1, so 7 hits total. Even though he's hitting on 5s, rolled really well. So I was very happy with that. Slowly getting them off. And as you can see here, they killed him. He only lost 3 Wild Huntsmen, but and he eventually lost. We worked out he lost by combat by 1, but he failed, ran, and he was ran down. And I decided to chase with both, just to make sure I could kill him, because I worked out if he runs through the dragon, he doesn't die, reforms. He's then absolutely in a better position to go after my Dryads. So I really needed to chase him down, and I did. They're still very much at the extremis of the Taurosaur, or out of his charge range, so I'm not really worried about that. But that's a massive win. It just opens up this side, and Wild Huntsman can go and run now and just hide for the rest of the battle, as far as I was concerned. Saurian Ancient's turn 4. So Tommy did something I was quite strange. So I thought either he was either going to start pushing a bit here just to get some points back, because it was quite obvious at some point my Totemic Summon is going to come good. I'm just edging closer and closer, and now I've killed the Warlord, I've got a points advantage. But he's moved back a bit, hoping it's shooting. He's still got a couple of turns he wants for shooting, using his Pterodons on the right to block my Avatar. He's moved this one behind the building to protect it from the shooting. I move this Warlord to threaten my centre, and this is just so we can push the Taurosaur here and use the magic here to really dominate my centre whilst zoning my Avatar on this side. What it does allow me though to do is just move back to the other side, so I'm not worried about this. And he's still not going after my scoring with this. I think this was the turn he had to move for it, especially with my Heath Hunters all the way down here. Has any chance, but he hasn't done it. So yeah, I was pretty happy with that. In Magic, the real things that I wanted to stop were just anything on my Blade Dancers. They were starting to get critical. I needed them to survive at least another 2 turns just to keep zoning and keeping his Quattro back there. In Magic, he killed 2 of the Dryads with a Pyroclastic Flow, and then a Fireball and Sparkle Creation. Only 1 Heath Hunters. I've managed to stop one of them. I really wanted to protect the Heath Hunters as well, but I couldn't do it from all the spells. But they just roll really, really low, and I rolled good for savings. Didn't even cause a panic check. So again, still pretty happy with how that went. And then shooting, yeah. That's the Totemic Summon on the left, and that's him back in jail on the right. He got killed off again by the small skink unit. Didn't even the other skink unit, I don't think, shot all game at all. Didn't need to. He was rolling on fire. Right, so turn 4. Apologies, I haven't got great photos for this one. I think it was 1, we're getting late, and 2, we're just getting really excited. So what I've done is I've pushed forward as far as possible. So I've used that unit on the left to block the Taurosaur, and I've used the other unit to block the other Warlord, and that's so I can push my Blade Dancer's avatar and Dragon into that centre where he's left me a bit of a gap because his Taurosaurs are both on the other side of the building looking the other way. So now if I manage to get that last wound off that Pterodon, this would be big trouble for him, but as you will see. Yeah, so here you can see the Warlord looking on this side. The only spell I got off this turn is Totemic Summon. He's quite frankly stopping Break Spirit on this one. I wanted to get it off on this Taurosaur here because I knew he's got to come into the chat to clear it off, otherwise it's going to be bad. But that was the one he sensibly wanted to stop. But the Totemic Summon, he did like 1 wound, if that. I'm not sure. He didn't do much yet again. So he's going to get killed off next turn. But the Sentinels did manage to put a couple of wounds on the Taurosaur, putting him down to like 3. And then the Heath Hunters, these 5, they were going to get killed, and they managed to put another wound on the Taurosaur, so he's down to 2. Epically good for this. Yeah, just unlucky rolling from Tommy there. That shouldn't have happened. So I've got this Taurosaur on 2, so if I got Break the Spirit up on there, that would have been epically good. I don't think he could have charged him in. I think he'd have had to sit back and go, okay, this is too dangerous, because it would have been at least the woods, probably open terrain as well. So that could have been 6 DTs. Saurian Ancients turn 5, better picture. So here's where you can see he's put his Warlord into the Heath Hunters. I've angled them so he doesn't get he couldn't get an overrun into anything particular, Dryads or Dragon. He does charge into them, and they pass their terror check because the General and BSB's leadership there. So they've gone in as well. He then brings in this Pterodon here, and that's just a block off. That kind of ruins my plan. I was kind of hoping to be able to shoot or magic that one off, and I probably should have put the Totemic Summon on that in hindsight rather than gone off to this, because what happens now is I can't actually push really hard. I was in a really good position there to really get some big points, and that screwed me up, because as you can see now, I can't charge his Taurosaurs. But if I go in to this unit here, this Saurian Warlord unit, I get challenged out by his champion, and then I'm stuck on a steadfast rollable general. I mean, his generals, his Quattle's bomb taps his back Saurian Warlord unit, but then I just get a double flank charge with them. He's probably killed them off and is looking in. They'll have died off. He's probably looking in. So what was looking at a really strong position, Tommy, just because I didn't kill that last Pterodon on 1 wound, yeah, Tommy's got me. He's a really good counterplay. And he's just, yeah, lining up to kill this Totemic Summon over there. So in Magic, Blade Dancer took a bit of a hammering. I tried to stop as much as possible, but I'm really quite close in now. He's managed to take off 4 with Pyroclastic Flow, but I managed to stop everything. With between Fireball and Cascading Fire, but I managed to stop Pyroclastic Flow, which is the big danger on them. You see again in shooting, he's slowly getting there. Eventually, if I get like a Totemic Summon a turn, maybe I can cause a panic check at some point, but I'm just not killing enough to do it. And he's been killed and he's back in the box. So yeah, he managed to get Healing Waters off as well. Forgot about that on the Taurosaur. So this Taurosaur's up at 3 wounds, and he's got a 5 up fortitude as well. So he kills off the Heath Hunters and turns into the centre. The Warlord fluffs a bit, so he only kills 2. They break and run, but he chooses not to run after them and face back in this way, which I think was a good move because it just, it's a good move on the base of it, but I think he should have angled better just to make sure, because in his mind, I'm going in, but he's just created such a dangerous position that, yes, if I go through and he fails a re-rollable cold-blooded 8, yeah, I win big, I win 20-0. But if he doesn't, I lose all my big units, and I lose probably 16-4. So I don't think that's a good move to go into. So this is the start of my turn 5. Looking at that, it looks pretty dodgy. And that's the end of my turn 5. So what I've done here is I have moved the dragon. It's great having a flying mage. Moved it around here because now I have a really good view of these guys, and this is where I can either use a Swarm of Insects or Totemic Summon to take them off, and then turn 6 I've got a breath weapon, I can get in close, and he won't be able to charge me because he's got his turn 6 first. I move the Avatar around, still in range of this Pterodon. I want to get rid of this thing. The Heath Hunters rally, obviously, and the Blade Dancers move back out. Yes, they're going to take a couple of Fire Mages in Fire's turn, but I think I can take it. And it just puts me out of arc of these, or range of these 3. And the only thing that can charge him is this Taurosaur. Now, he's going to be charging through a wood, through another wood, so he's going to be taking quite a few DTs, and then he's going to be hitting a stubborn unit, and I just choose Aegis 3+. And then he can get countercharged by the Dryads with ranks. It's just not great for him. So I don't think he's going to go for that one. Otherwise, the Brimanes come up behind these guys to either get a Master of Earth if an opportunity, but not the priority, and some shooting onto them to try and reduce them. So yeah, look at this. Well, this wasn't a Totemic Summon. He stopped Totemic Summon. This is the one turn he did. And then I got Swarm of Insects off, and I did 6 wounds. I caused a panic. They ran off the board. Tick VG Dragon, I've got the objective. So that's objective mine. It's taken me this long to do, but it's worked. He did stop Master of Earth as well on the Pterodons, but the Avatar of Nature took off the final wound on these Pterodons here, so they're dead. And I managed to take off one of the Pterodons here with the Briar Maidens, so they're down to just 2 wounds left. So I'm slowly picking up points. Not a high scoring game, but I could get into the back of those there. But I think it was the right move. Yes, I could have charged these. Yes, I would have been challenged out, and if I didn't kill enough, because I wouldn't have got the Avatar of Nature in, I probably would have got the Blade Dancers in and the Dragon, but then, well, Dragon definite, maybe not the Blade Dancers. The Blade Dancers got in, I go through, and that's really good. If I don't, I get combo charged by the world, and it just doesn't end well for me. So Saurian Ancient's turn 6, he can't really do much. He just wants to move out of the way with that Pterodon, and move it out of the way, and then just line up here and try and kill some units. So between magic and shooting, he kills off the final 2 Heath Hunters, so he's got those points, and then just tries and keeps everything else out of my charge arc. He does manage to blink off a Blade Dancer with his Great Bow on there, but it's not enough to get half points. And then in Sylvan's turn 6, so these are 2 big things. I move my dragon up to the skinks. I've got a breath weapon. I'm going to get some spells off on them. And then on the left, I've got these guys, Briar Maidens, and I've got the True Father Rachel. So in spells, so this is my first spell. I cast Master of Earth. Get it out, and I take off the final wound there, so I don't even need my shooting. This was probably a mistake. I should have kept the spell dice for later, because that shooting is going to take him off. And then he lets me cast a Totemic Summon, but he stops Swarm of Insects, because obviously that's doing well. And that was a good move, because this is what happens. Between 2 breath weapons, I kill 4. 3 with the dragon, and 1 with the Totemic Summon, which brings a grand total of 5 Totemic Summons and 10d6 worth of breath weapon kills 8 skinks. Or was it 7? It didn't hit double figures. I had more dice to roll a breath attacks than I did skinks kill. It was appalling. In the end, they don't require a panic check. Yeah, they did. Or no, they did, but they were inside the general and the BSB's bubble, so they passed that easy, and that ends the game. So Battle Report result. It's a very low scoring game, but I think that was just because of the style and the way he boxed in. It wasn't going to get any more, but I managed to get an 11-9 difference before objection. I got the secondary, which I think was pretty in the bag. I was pretty happy with how I played. I think I stuck to the plan and it worked really well. It's probably the one time I use Shamanism Dragon is really, really useful because you can just sit them at the back and there's so many points you're saving between Swarm, Totemic, and Break the Spirit, even Chillwind. The ranges are 36 minimum. It's just you're going to have, and with the maneuverability of 14 inches and fly, it's just so good. You don't need to get them in combat. They're just doing their job back there. So Dragon, well done. I really like the avatar. It's really tough, and everyone's absolutely terrified of them. Especially with that stubborn 9/5 Aegis. I think it would be better if I had a Druid Master just to get the odd wound back, and I think that's how I'd switch it around. I do like having a larger Wild Huntsman unit because they can take casualties. But yeah, that's the way it goes. But otherwise, a good fun game. I haven't got anything for Hobby Corner this week, but I am redoing the Heath Hunters. So on the next video, there should be an updated Heath Hunter unit. It's too short a time, but I am actually doing something, I promise. I'm not just skiving. And thank you for listening. If you like it, please subscribe. Otherwise, please leave comments on what you think would be better. Ben, thank you for your comment on your thought process on spells rather than card number. That's a really good point, and it saves time. So I'm trying to keep these down to below 40 minutes, which I think I've kept. So thank you very much. That's AAA Wargaming. See you soon.